conference inside, but it's just a little bit too crowded. We can't fit everybody in there. Okay. Well, good morning, Queensland. I want to start with the COVID update, and can I also say it's wonderful to be in my electorate and down here at Durack at one of the Aussie seafood houses, and it's great to be here with Ian and Mark will talk a little bit more about Ian becoming one of our Eat Queensland ambassadors. But in terms of COVID, can I say in very good news overnight, we have only had one new case in hotel quarantine. That is excellent news. It's a person who's come in from Canada. We now only have 9 active cases, but this is extraordinary. We had 13,000 tests over the past 24 hours. So Queenslanders, thank you for coming out in droves. Also too, there would have been people, of course, from the northern beaches, and especially people in those regions that Dr. Young talked about where people were going and getting tested. We need to keep that up, everyone. So, you know, if we want to preserve our Queensland lifestyle, we've got to continue to do what we're doing, and that means if you have any symptoms, to please get tested, and that is wonderful news. And today is the 99th day without a case of community transfer in Queensland. So again, extraordinary work done by everyone across this state, and we need to keep that up because we can see what's happening around the world. It is going to be a very bleak Christmas for many people living in the Northern Hemisphere this year. However, in Queensland, we know that because Queenslanders have done such a great job with dealing with COVID, we are looking at having Christmas near to normal as we possibly can. Of course, we do have social distancing requirements in place, and we do want cafes and restaurants to have those QR codes or electronic capturing of that data, which is really important for contact tracing. But today we're here to promote Queensland, and this Christmas I want people to support Queensland businesses buying fresh Queensland produce and of course fresh Queensland seafood. I put my order in for 2 kilos of prawns. I'll be back here tomorrow, Arvo, to pick it up in time for our Christmas Eve celebrations. But of course, the way you can support the industry is to back the industry. And as Ian told me, there are plenty of prawns around. Of course, good Moreton Bay bugs and fresh fish as well. So do your best, everyone. Get out there and support Queensland seafood. And I know Mark Verner's already got his kilo of prawns ready for his lunch today. So good on you, Mark. All right, so I'll hand over to Mark to talk a little bit more about supporting Queensland businesses this year. And then Ian might say a few words, and then we're happy to take some questions.
Thanks, Premier. And as the Premier announced, we do have the best lifestyle in the country here in Queensland. But in addition to that, we have the best produce, Queensland produce that's fresh, green and clean. It's the envy of the world. So we're promoting Queensland produce leading right up to Christmas. So when you're on your shopping list, like these people that are lined up here to go in the store, make sure you purchase some Queensland seafood. Today we're presented Ian Hamilton from Aussie Seafood House here, the 18th recipient of Eat Queensland Awards. So we don't do that on a regular basis. We reward people on the basis of what they're delivering for Queensland, for businesses and for jobs. So by supporting Queensland produce leading up to Christmas, putting it on your shopping list, you're not only supporting the Queensland economy, but you're also supporting Queensland jobs. So that's why it makes extra benefit in going out there, whether it be prawns, beautiful Queensland wine, ham. There's so much produce out there on the market at a beautiful price, and people are after it. So please dig in deep and support our Queensland farmers this Christmas.
Ian, would you like to say anything?
Thank you very much, Mr. Verner. Thank you very much, Premier. It's great to see you guys out here supporting us and the local community and the industry in general. This sort of back in at Christmas time's what we need. It's been a tough year for everybody around town. All the businesses around have been down a little bit, but this time of year is where everyone comes through. There's plenty of seafood available, plenty of Mooloolaba, Ocean Kings, plenty of prawns, crabs, prawns for everybody, prawns for every price range, plenty of everything seafood really. So get down to your local fish show, get down and grab some prawns for the table. and eat fresh Queensland. Thank you very much.
All right, happy to take some questions.
Premier, from today, businesses, cafes, pubs, they have to have electronic COVID sign and QR code. How important is that?
Look, it is really important for contact tracing. So what we're asking everyone is if you are going in to a cafe or a restaurant, a club, please leave your details. It is really important because if we do need to contact trace, it's going to make the job so much easier for our contact tracers in Queensland. So we're just asking people to take that 2 or 3 minutes. I did it yesterday going to a cafe. It is really easy to do.
Why can't people use paper?
Sorry?
Why can't people use
Because people the writing is illegible. Sometimes the phone numbers are hard to read. So of course we know that clubs, even like the local clubs around here, have where you put your driver's license in. So we just want to make it simple for everyone. So please make sure that you talk to the management and make sure you do register that you have been there, especially if you're having lunch or dinner or a drink.
Do businesses expect a compliance blitz today?
There has been a compliance blitz that has been going out. We will continue to do that across the state, but we also acknowledge that it's going to take a few days for people to fully come up to that compliance level. So we're asking people to do everything they possibly can. The other thing we're looking at too is in Canberra they have an app where you just fill out your registration details once, then it gets picked up when you go into different venues. So we're working on that, and that should be in place sometime in the new year towards the end of January.
We're hearing managers have already been fined recently. Is that something that they can expect?
Well,
from
police are going to be out there, so we want everyone to do the right thing. Police, health, and of course Attorney General. So we want everyone out there, please do the right thing at this time of year, because you're actually not just looking after yourself and your family, you're actually looking after Queenslanders, you're looking after everybody.
And Premier, there's a lot of Christmas parties and big functions happening at the moment. It's the party season. Do you think that there's a bit of a sense of complacency at all in the community?
I think what the Sydney cluster has shown is that we can't be complacent. So I'm asking everyone to please do the right thing. It only takes a couple of minutes of your time, and it's actually safeguarding everybody's health. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that Queenslanders are healthy and we preserve our lifestyle. So you think at the moment, if we had a community transmission like they've got in Sydney, that could have implications, broader implications across our tourism sector. I don't want to see the Gold Coast or Cairns or the Whitsundays go into lockdowns that we are seeing in other parts of the world. That's why we are taking those tough measures, and that's why we want people to ensure that they are doing the right thing when they're out and about and everyone can enjoy their Christmas.
They're already easing restrictions in Sydney with 8 new cases. I mean, do you personally agree with that? I can't imagine it's something we do here, and does that lessen the opportunity for the border to open?
Look, it's good to see that the New South Wales government is getting on top of that cluster, but of course it's a 14-day incubation period. That is why those 14 days are really important from the start to 14 days to see how that goes. So we'll be monitoring that. Let me say, it is not just Queensland that took the tough measures of shutting the borders with New South Wales. The health advice of nearly every other health officer across the country was advising their respective leaders exactly the same thing independently. So these are measures because there has been a cluster outbreak in the Northern Beaches. If there hadn't been the cluster outbreak in the Northern Beaches, well, no one would have had to take these measures, and everybody would have been seeing their family and friends over this Christmas New Year period. But I think it's a bit rich for New South Wales to start blaming Queensland and Victoria and whichever other state and territory she wants to blame. This has happened in New South Wales, it has happened in the Northern Beaches, and we wish them all the very best, but we do not want our lifestyle compromised at this point in time. So as soon as they get on top of that, the sooner we can get back to life as semi-normal as possible. But let me also say this. We also know that with more and more people coming in, returning home from overseas, there is a higher chance of more cases in hotel quarantine, which is what we are seeing. So we need to be, and as I've said this before, absolutely strict when it comes to our hotel quarantine in Queensland and across the nation.
In Broadbeach yesterday, people were waiting in line for 8 hours only to find one person was taking swabs. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, my thoughts are that I understand this is a very busy time of year for our health system. You know, it would have been great to have had more people down there, but at the end of the day, I thank everybody who stood there and got tested, because they have contributed to over 13,000 people getting tested in the past 24 hours. But I know Health are trying to make sure that they have more staff out and about across the regions and across Queensland to continue the contact tracing testing, to continue the testing that we need for COVID.
On a separate issue, everyone thought Cairns Aquarium, so that's been cleared by the CCC today. Do they deserve an apology? They say their reputation's been cleared.
Look, I absolutely support the Cairns Aquarium. They have been provided assistance by my government in relation to the impacts of COVID, and my understanding is that the Deputy Premier and the Department had no choice but to refer it as soon as that matter came to hand. So the fact that it has now been, you've said it's been cleared, I haven't got that formal advice, but if that's the case, that's great news for them.
Does that grant get reinstated, or what?
Sorry?
I guess they've already spent the money, haven't they?
Well, that's the matter now for the department responsible. Yeah. Okay.
Just on Sterling Cliff, is he back from leave?
Look, I said to, let me say some general comments. I have said at the last cabinet meeting to all ministers, I said to all ministers that, you know, during this summer period, we could have a number of events. We could have had a COVID outbreak, we could have bushfires, we could have cyclones. So everyone needs to be prepared and everyone needs to be ready to return from leave if and when the situation arises. Now, Sterling is a senior minister. He has been working extensively all year, and he is still working in relation to dealing with issues from the tourism industry. And he will continue to do that, and my understanding is that he is back in Brisbane.
Did you ask him to come back?
Sorry?
Did you ask him to come back?
Look, I've made it very clear to all ministers that if they need to come back, they need to come back. They're big enough to make their own decisions when they come back.
So it was his decision to
Sorry?
come back?
Sorry?
It was his decision to come back?
Yes, it was. Yep. They all were all the ministers were told at the cabinet meeting that if they need to come back, they should come back. Okay? Everyone's fine? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that your kilo of prawns, Minister?
It certainly is.
Get them in the fridge.
They won't last